You know, the biggest issue I run into with tripods is that they tend to be a little too small. I'm 6'5", and typically tripods are just a touch short. There are some exceptions to that, and SUNWAYFOTO provides a number of exceptions to that. I'm very happy for that. So a big guy like me can find tripods for filming, videography, getting high angles, while maintaining the ability to flex out and go low with angle degree changes. That's awesome. But this one is actually the biggest tripod and the most unique design I think that I've ever reviewed. Yes, inside of this huge bag is a tripod, and it's actually something I didn't know I really like. I love the idea, I love the design. I think I'm gonna use this a lot. And yes, it does definitely get tall enough for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the bag here and show you just how tall this one can actually get. First thing to notice is that, yes, it is a huge, big bag. It's actually padded, it's well made, and it does have a front pouch, which is kind of a signature of their tripod bags. They all tend to have a front pouch, and inside that front pouch, you're gonna find your manual, which will tell you a little bit about angles, degrees, some of the materials. There are spiked feet. Well, actually, that's the other package. There are spiked feet inside, so you can trade out the rubber feet for spiked feet if that's your thing. They do have rubber grommets or rubber seals. I think O-rings is the right word. They have rubber O-rings to keep water out because they're carbon fiber tripod legs with twister barrels. And so it should be pretty dust and water resistant to almost waterproof if it's just a sprinkle. And then you do have some extra hardware in here depending what you want to do for the head, as well as the tools to tighten things down. And they always throw in a cloth, a cleaning cloth on top of that. That's what's going to be in your front pocket. There's a carry strap right here, or you can shoulder carry it, and it's going to work really well for pretty much any body type I've ever seen in my life. I think you can probably make this fit someone very small as well. Keep it tight to your body, or find a way to rig this on a bag if you really needed to. The carry handle is padded, and now let's open it up. Zippers always work really good. I haven't had these bags fail me. The zippers have worked every time, which is good. I appreciate that. And here it is. Just a giant. Thing is huge. So this is the T4020CSLI carbon fiber tripod. And you'll notice something unique about this. It's only got one twister barrel on it per leg. And that it's got these big extended legs. Really, really strong. Let me take a step back and extend out those legs and show you how tall it gets compared to me being 6'5". And then also how strong this is. I'm gonna do a little demonstration of something I don't recommend you trying, but I'll do it. Like I said, this is really strong. And with that single piece, you're gonna twist the barrel, and instead of pulling out the leg, it's actually kind of an over leg. So this goes over the interior leg, just a little bit different than some other ones that you've probably used before. So you're always reaching for the top, like that. All the way down, pretty smooth function. And I'm gonna tighten these barrels up, just an appropriate tightness, reasonable tightness. You can see how tall this thing gets. It's dang near as tall as I am. I mean, I couldn't shoot off the top of that unless I was on something higher, which is something that could happen. You could actually need to set this up. I've seen some PRS stages where a really tall tripod would actually function well. Or camera. If I'm using my camera and I want to get a taller angle, this would be really cool. But there you go, that's what it looks like. I weigh 250 pounds, and I am telling you, don't do this at home. It's just for your security and your knowledge that this is strong. The first thing I did when I got it is I've seen Max over at Slav Guns, you should watch his channel, subscribe. I've seen him hang off of his. And you know what? I weigh 250 pounds and I can hang off of this. I wouldn't do it a long time. I wouldn't suggest that you ever try it, but it can hold 250 pounds, which is pretty dang awesome. I suspect this high strength ratio has to do with the way that this ball head works. This is really good, and it's going to hold at least your precision rifles. No worries there. Up to my biggest rifle with the weight on. Had no issues with that. Leg angles are strong. I wouldn't try that again at a reduced leg angle or increasing angle. I would keep it right here, but I didn't feel any flex. I didn't feel any cracking. I didn't hear anything. I just think it's a really strong design. And again, it has to do probably with the fact that it's carbon fiber, and we have 2 leg portions, 1 twister, and each twister meets up like that. So it's basically not a lot of flexing, not a lot of parts to worry about. Pretty dang cool. And not to mention it is a 40 millimeter leg diameter, which that's huge for me. It's very important for the rifles that I'm running. I think it also helps to absorb some shock or recoil or vibration, whatever you want to call it. I think it does a little bit with that, and this is no exception to that. The one that I'm filming on right now is another 40 millimeter from SUNWAYFOTO. It's been doing awesome, but I noticed that this has some distinct advantages over that one that might even lead me to like this one better. We'll see here. I'll show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. So yes, it's huge, but it still has those leg angles that I'm familiar with from other Sunway tripods, which have worked really well. Been very natural. I think it's a thoughtful design. And so from a kneeling position, right here, if I'm going to throw a gun into this, which I probably should go grab a gun real quick and just show you what that looks like. By the way, I'm gonna take this out before I forget. SUNWAYFOTO always includes an accessory plate here, which is really useful for the kind of cameras I use, other things, maybe spotters. And it has stoppers on the bottom, good stainless hardware, and it meets up really well, matches well with the Arca clamp provided as I tension it. That's something that they always throw in. All right, so let's say that you're a hunter and you don't have time or you don't desire to deploy fully standing. You can actually just run this tripod, especially me, because I'm tall, it's very natural for me, but I think even a shorter person can run this and deploy it without extending the legs. I can still see over weeds. I could shoot over weeds, brush big rocks, but I'm not creating such a huge signature that I stand out like as if I was standing. So I can get comfortable behind my rifle just like this. And because it's got those big 40 millimeter legs, it's just strong. It's not flexing on me, not bending on me. And of course, this quick release neck is so useful for panning, tilting, tracking with animals. This is a good design. I could see somebody maybe in the mountains, especially when you have hills or mountains and you have grade change where you're shooting down into a valley or shooting up into a valley, and you need maybe longer legs on one side and shorter on the other. I could see this being kind of the ultimate advantage here. Just so many ways I could see this working out. Shooting rooftops, actually, if you're shooting comps with rooftops, there's a couple reasons I could see this being a little bit quicker. If you're shooting off your back of, you're sitting on the rooftop and you're shooting forward, kind of the reverse angle that rooftops are usually set up, I could actually see this and that front leg extension being a more natural area to reach for and set that up. If you can plan your stages ahead of time, if you can set it up, great. But if they don't let you, I think these are easier to work with, but I'll have to test that in the future. So far, this position right here would be very natural though. Quick, steady, easy to move with, which is what you want for hunting or competitive shooting. Then of course, the lowest position, and it has these lockouts, so they don't just snap back into place on their own. You actually pull them out, they click and stop, and then you can push them back in, which is convenient if you want to go all the way to the lowest, which it still gets incredibly low. For how huge of a tripod this is, it still gets all the way flat. So that doesn't limit me with filming, videography, shooting. I could use this very well as a bipod in the position it's in right now, as long as I didn't have a big pistol grip that was too tall or a stock that went down very low. So this still functions, it still works really well. I can think of so many applications where this would be a nice thing to have, especially again, if you're shooting, let's say on a rocky surface, shooting down into a ravine and the grade or the angle changes. You go one angle out, and imagine if I was on a higher surface up here, shooting down into a valley, I can change the leg angles, I could speak, to match the grade of what I'm shooting against and still get full support. And it's just very easy to do and set up like that. To be honest with you, I wasn't sure how practical it would be with this rifle setup to shoot from the prone, but actually it's really not bad at all. This is way more natural than I thought it would be. I thought it would be doable, but a little bit tricky to get comfortable, and it's not. It's actually really natural. It is the height of my bipod typically that I shoot from the prone. That's awesome. Not too much bounce. There's going to be a little more bounce in this position because I'm basically compromising the strength of the legs vertically, now splayed out horizontally. So this is going to be the most bounce I'm going to experience, and I can try to manufacture some if I hit it really hard. But if I'm just letting it free recoil, I'm actually not worried about that a lot. I'm not putting a bunch of pressure or weight on these, and I wouldn't in this position. It's not incredibly wise. And another position that I probably should spend more time talking about would be this one right here. So this is going to be, for me, probably one of the things I appreciate the most. If you notice this, the height is absolutely perfect for sitting down. This is the most stable tripod shooting position for me. Maybe shooting prone would be a little bit better, but right here, I typically throw a bag under my leg, or like my backpack goes under here. Rifle goes up and arcas in. I'm not going to point it this direction just because of what's behind here, but I can set up perfectly in my tripod and quickly flip this with my thumb and track around to different targets. I could shoot uphill and I could shoot downhill from this position right here. And that's just using the second indicated leg angle that's available. I didn't have to do any extension to the legs at all. It's just perfect. And I can imagine, you know, somebody who's a bit taller than me, just a little bit taller, that still fits. Yet I can imagine someone who's shorter than me, a little bit shorter, it still fits for them, depending on the height of their optic. If their height over bore is very, very bad, it might be a little bit more of a straight up shot where they have to sit positionally higher. But again, that's not too much of an issue because you're locking in to the Arca or Picatinny channel on top. Not that it's a deal breaker by any means, but in order to get my other tripod, my filming tripod, down to this level, I had to twist 3 barrels to get it back down here. And with this one, it's one control. It's one barrel to twist on. It's pretty cool. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and throw a device on the end of this just so that you can hear the impacts a little better and the report isn't louder. All right, with the can on there, that should help quite a bit. Won't be too loud. So my target is that direction, and just with one throw, I'm on my target right there. Another advantage of some of these SUNWAYFOTO designs is instead of a traditional ball head, which are great and they have a purpose, instead of that, all I have to do is flip the switch. The toggle on the left, that's my one control. It's very easy to function. Yeah, that's really comfortable. I'm liking it, guys. I think I might get converted to this for certain applications. Not for everything, but for certain applications and as a one-tool option for tripods, this can do a heck of a lot of stuff. It's a really good value. Let's go ahead and shoot some steel at 80 yards here. I'll turn off my microphone, get my parallax figured out right there, and I'll take a few shots. Again, very comfortable. I'm not even going to worry about a rear support bag down here. I'm just going to shoot it off the tripod because this shouldn't be too difficult. I'll free recoil for the most part. Obviously, it's incredibly steady, almost no reticle shake that I would be concerned about for hunting-sized targets. I'm pretty sure I can still put out a 1 MOA group here at 80 yards off of this tripod. The only difference I would make is maybe just move my rifle back a little bit and then give myself that backpack under the leg. If I really wanted to hone it in and almost turn it into a bench, that's possible. But I've got such a wide distribution for my legs on here. And remember, there's 2 legs underneath. So technically, I just have a huge amount of support and strength and some of that probably absorption of vibration going on. It's so easy. And by the way, my action is actually quite smooth on this rifle, but I'm using ammo that is not chambering great because it's got thick primers. That is stupid easy off this tripod. This thing is deadly. Really good hunting combination for sure. Okay, from a kneeling position, now I'm just gonna flex these down to, I almost could still kneel and shoot in this position. I'm not going to do it. I'm gonna go up a little higher just to show you that position, but most people, especially somebody who's a little bit shorter than me, could still get very comfortable like this. And there's a lot of range of travel and movement in this position going kneeling. I still feel pretty comfortable with this. I shot an entire PRS stage in that position off of a beam at my last match, and it actually wasn't too unstable. As long as I'm pulling the trigger well, it wasn't too unstable at all. This could be sufficient for kneeling for probably most people, but since I'm tall, let's go up to the highest position, and I think you can still see just fine. Just so quick to tension the neck and get it right where it needs to be. I like that. Yeah, I would say in this position as well, really, really comfortable. Easily getting kill shots on animals at practical ranges. This provides me no concerns at all for durability, stability. I think this is right in the wheelhouse of most people who are looking for a tripod that has this unique feature right here. I've gone up with the filming tripod I'm using as tall as it will go. And I'm gonna get this one as tall as this will go. It just makes me laugh every time. Just how huge this thing is. It's awesome. I'm not used to tripods actually being the right height. They get close a lot of times, but pretty much only SUNWAYFOTO is the ones that I can afford that get tall enough. So you can actually see this is literally eye level with me. That's amazing. A couple of the features that we should take a closer look at. Again, this is the clamp itself, and this is where you're going to set tension to fit whatever ARCA or Picatinny piece you're trying to run. I typically run Picatinny, but I do have some ARCA devices, and I really appreciate the opportunity to not carry extra gear or change the format of my gear, that I can always have a tripod that's going to fit both rifles, both styles, as well as my spotters. With whatever configuration they're coming in, I've got it covered right here. That's really nice. And if I don't have an ARCA plate, it comes with one from the factory, which is very nice. Here is that quick throw. So that's your lever. Here's the ball, and it moves very freely, can take quite a bit of weight. And if you ever needed to, for some reason, you could tighten this down. You could tighten the hardware down right there. No concerns about that with me. I've never had an issue with that. But if I needed to, I could do it. And here's the leg angles. So these just pop out and they will stay and then go back in when I press them in. I do like that. There's the first, it's going to stop there. And there's the most extreme angle, which will auto lock it into place. And then on the way back down, it's going to return and fall into the detents that are created in the housing there. Just like so. You can see on the ends here, we push that in, If you can see, actually let's go to this next. There is a 3/8 size hole for an accessory. You could also put in a converter down to a 1/4 inch. That would be an easy thing to do if you have, I don't know, maybe a Kestrel, or you want to have a phone holder. I've seen a lot of people doing that lately at matches, having a phone holder right on their tripod. I can think of a lot of accessories where that would be convenient, and I'm really happy to see it built into the base, specifically in the position that it is. And one more thing worth showing you, if you can see those holes right there, that's where the air is coming out. It's on the underside of your legs, so it allows for water to kind of shed down the rest of the legs but not enter in here. And when I move my legs back and forth from that single position adjustment on the barrel, this is where the air is going to flush out from, because they are essentially airtight. And one last thing I'm going to recognize is that if you wanted to remove this, this will come out if you need to replace it with something different, or service your device, or clean it off, maybe it gets full of mud or dirt. It's definitely something that happens where I shoot. You can remove it by removing those Allens right there on top, and then pull the device out, clean it, do whatever you need to, put it back in, or install a different head. You can check those out at SUNWAYFOTO's website if you're curious. A question I usually try to answer in reviews, I think it helps the end viewer, or the end user, is who are they aiming at with a device like this? What kind of potential customer is that going to be? And obviously, I don't want to make you feel stupid, but obviously this is aimed at people who need something taller, something bigger, something simple. You don't want to mess with 3-leg locks or barrels. You're content with the one, and you can figure it out as you go. You don't need exact measurements and linkages. Maybe you're tired of tripods that are too short, which, gonna be honest with you, most of the time when a company reaches out to me about a tripod, I do get frustrated when I see that they would fit, maybe somebody who's 5'10". I know that's generally acceptable for the market, but it doesn't do great things for me. So I like the idea of this, because if you are shorter, this still works for you. It's not going to stop you from using it. And if you are taller, it absolutely is going to work for you. I would say up to that 6'8" range, somewhere in there, you're going to be really impressed with it. Even 6'9", 6'10", in there, I could definitely see somebody being comfortable with this. And it's so price efficient compared to anything else that's going to be this strong, the weight ratio, and then carbon fiber, and this easy to use. It's got really cool features that work for a long time. I have not burnt out a SUNWAYFOTO tripod yet, nor a head yet. And I shoot serious calibers out of them, not just rimfire. I'll shoot 300 PRC and 308, things that have decent recoil, and I'm still seeing them hold strong over time. So who's going to get the most out of it? I'm going to say for hunters, there's a certain application where I really can see it. I know that it's got a bigger form and footprint. The body is a little bit bigger and longer, but if you have a certain kind of elk carrying kit or backpack, you might find this to be really, really confidence boosting to have a solid tripod with, where you can shoot up and down a ravine, you can sit in awkward positions and be comfortable. You don't have to look for a rock to shoot off of. You don't have to shoot off your knees. You don't have to worry about the grass or some of the elements getting into your tripod. I would say hunters should definitely take a look at these. And then there is going to be an angle of competition shooters. I think some competition shooters are going to get a lot out of this. They're familiar with the leg angles, they're familiar with the connections on the top, the fact that you can shoot Picatinny or Arca. You can click in like I am here. That's going to be all familiar to them, but it has the features and accessories with it that probably are going to push a person who's on a budget into this category. Because you could spend $1,200, $1,300 to get something like this and still get pretty tall and have some cool features. But at $1,300, that's eating into your rifle budget, it's eating into your optics budget. I mean, that's just a lot of money for a tripod when you can get something, that's 40 mils, like I said, it's very stable, and it's hard to say where this one suffers in capability compared to one that's twice as expensive. And lastly, hobbyists, people who are kind of like me. I'm more of a hobbyist at the end of the day. I do a multitude of things. I plink quite a bit. I do some hunting. I'm actually going to hunt right here in a little bit for gophers. I do some matches, and I could see some advantages for this. In particular, the fact that the legs are long, and we're seeing a lot of stages, maybe in NRL 22, Precision 22, which is what I shoot sometimes, Precision 22 and PRS matches, NRL Hunter matches. is seeing the use of tripods in non-traditional ways. And I could see this being just quicker, easier to set up and deal with, rather than some that have 3 or 4 portions and legs to pull out. And so I think people like me who are just hobbyists, maybe do many different things, this is kind of the master of all in a lot of ways, because it's not going to inhibit you. So if you think that's interesting, go ahead and maybe like my video. I'd appreciate it. Share it if you consider that. And then also check out the link down below. If this isn't exactly what you're looking for, look at some of these videos, because maybe they're more so in your wheelhouse in the way you like to use tripods.